Hi, I'm Peter Masterly Vicharbulenko, and in this series I explore the typical mistakes of people rated anywhere between 8,000 and 2,000. This is a first reaction, no engine analysis of a chess.com game played between 1298 versus 1261. Let's start. Alright, so e4, e5, knight c3. Why not knight f3? So knight f3 is the main move. But why did white play knight c3? Well, this is called the Vienna, right? The Vienna game. The point is to play bishop c4, and then to play d3, and then the whole point of postponing knight f3 is so that we can play pawn to f4 and then put the knight behind the pawn on f4. Now, what is the point? The point is, generally speaking, to attack on the king side. What's the point? If black ever takes, and like we usually castle king side, right? If black ever takes, then we take back on f4, and then our f5 will open, our rook on f1, in combination with the bishop on c4, both strike f7. So we'll have pressure on f7, which is the Achilles heel in chess for black, as is f2 for white. So that's one point. If black does not take, then we can take on e5, and then it is the same. Again, we open up the f file. And the third idea is so that we can play f5, right? f5, have this very advanced pawn on the king side, and then maybe pawn storm black, you know, g4, g5 potentially. In this case, we could even castle queen side, actually, right? Maybe also like f5, and then we can go knight f3, knight g5 with ideas like queen h5, attacking f7, attacking h7. But if you get an advanced pawn on f5, that usually gives you a lot of space, a lot of domination on the king side. So if white gets his pawn on f5, that gives him a lot of room for attack on the king side. So that is the idea of knight c3. Knight f6. Okay, now this is weird. Why would he play d4? d4 is a mistake. Because after black takes, we take the queen, then black plays knight c6, developing with tempo. Then instead of us developing our other minor pieces, we have to waste more time, you know, waste a couple tempi and move the queen back. So this is not good. A much better move, like I said, would have been bishop c4, followed by d3, pawn f4, and then knight f3. And then depending on the situation, if black does not take, we either at some point take, or we push f5 even more often. More often white plays f5, and then attacking on the king side. Yeah, so this would have been very good. Plus bishop c4 is also good because it prevents, you know, d5, right? White, black cannot immediately play d5, they have to prepare it. So, but yeah, no, d4. If you wanna play d4, don't play d4 straight away. Okay, play knight f3, and then d4, and then you can play d4. For example, if black plays some passive move, let's say here, then you can play d4. And when if you take, you can take with a knight, for example, right? Or for example, even if you play knight c6, you can still play d4. Why? Because after ed, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4. Yes, you took the queen ultimately, but now there's no more knight c6 with tempo. So the point is not that you should never put your queen on d4, like in the center. It's okay, actually. It might be actually very strong in the center, provided it is not attacked. Like in this case, the queen on d4 is very good. It's very active, very central square, right? Next we can play like bishop g5, it is pawn to e5, this bishop to c4, attacking f7, castle long, pressure on the d file, bring the rook to the e file, maybe push some even more pawns. But black cannot attack our queen. That's the point. And if he plays c5, you would say, oh, this is attack. Well, this is just a one-move threat. This is anti-positional. It's not worth it. Yes, we can just, at the very least, go all the way back. So, but this is a long-term weakness. You know, d7 is a backward point, d6 potentially weak square, d5 weak square. So it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So my point was that if black can play knight c6, but pawn to c5 is a long-term, it's weakening long-term. So yeah, d4 is bad. Mistake. Okay, here takes, of course, the knight c6. No, this is bad. I mean, what is white doing? Just like playing with a queen. And in this case, black does not have any long-term weakness. The pawn is not on c5. So this already is bad. What white is doing? Okay, bishop b4, pinning the knight, threatening knight takes e4. Yeah, this is a potentially pretty weak pawn. Okay, bishop d3, protecting the pawn. Makes sense, actually. Castling, yeah, good move. In the opening, your key points are king safety, which means to castle as fast as you can, minor piece development, and if possible, have some pawn center, at least one pawn in the center, or ideally two, you know. But yeah, so castling is good. Now the c4 pawn might be very weak. Next, rook e8 ideas, pressuring the pawn. There's ideas also like d5. White's king is in the center. When your opponent has a king in the center, the best strategy is to open the game up, to attack crazily till he castles, till he consolidates. So that's why black should very quickly start a big attack with rook e8, d5, not allowing white time to brief, time to consolidate, time to castle. So this is absolutely key, because if the game is closed, then you cannot exploit the fact that my king is in the center. But if you open the game up, then you can actually check and attack my king. Then when it's like most vulnerable. So yeah. Okay, bishop d2, unpinning the knight, protecting the knight with bishop. Maybe we don't want to play bc. It does make some sense. Okay, rook e8, now threatening what? Bishop takes c3, and after bishop takes c3, knight takes c4, bishop takes c4, rook takes c4. So white needs to address that. Ooh, this is typically not a good move. f2 is the Achilles heel in chess for white, f7 is the Achilles heel in chess for black, meaning it's the weakest point. Typically, you never want to play f3. There are exceptions, maybe some systems, but as a rule of thumb, you do not want to play f3. Why? When you play f3, you simultaneously weaken two long dark diagonals, a7 g1 and h4 e1. This is very weakening. And also you weaken e3, the whole complex of dark squares you weaken. This is so bad. Like black could eventually play bishop c5. You wouldn't be able to castle on the king side. There's potentially some checks, maybe moving the knight and some checks. Also the e3 square. Also black can play now d5. Another rule of thumb is this. If you're black and your opponent plays f3, which weakens the king side, weakens the complex of dark squares, the best strategy is to strike in the center. Now striking in the center is even more powerful, because after you open the game up, you're gonna expose all these newly weakened dark squares, like e3, like the whole complex of dark squares. When you open the game up, because these are so weak, it's even worse for white. So this is so bad. I think maybe white should have... my first idea was knight g2. Why? So that, I mean, if they take, obviously we just take and we're winning. But if they take on c3, so that we can take back with a knight. And again, defend. Though, true, black can play d5 still. And it's still not ideal. But white already misplayed it earlier, so already it's difficult to correct it. It's still bad. It's still bad. Maybe, I don't know, unless maybe bishop g5, pinning the knight. And if they take some move, maybe, I don't know, knight. Yeah, no, I don't think it works. If we take here, we take here with check. And then we take here, not good. If we take this way, they could... there's a couple ideas. One idea is rook takes c4, bishop takes c4, queen takes d1, rook takes d1, then knight takes e4. And we have two minor pieces for a rook, which two minor pieces are typically better than a rook. There's also the idea of maybe even, I don't know, knight e4, bishop d8, knight c3, check, but also attacking the queen, and then taking the queen. This is hanging, so I don't know. Not so sure. Yeah, it's still bad. But yeah, no matter what white's doing, it's bad. Maybe, I don't know, queen f3, wanna castle queen side, but then still d5, where is d5 is pretty annoying actually. Yeah, it's still bad. It's still bad, yeah. Maybe bishop d2 is not the best. Maybe white should have played knight g2, right? And after rook e8, maybe bishop g5, pinning the knight, not allowing knight e4. This probably would have been the best. Yeah. But okay, let's see. d5, yeah, now white is much worse. Oh my god, what is this? This is crazy. Another rule of thumb, never play f3 and h3 together. When you play f3, you're already weakening a lot of dark squares. If you add to this h3, this is like much worse. You weaken even more of dark squares, even more. You should never put all the pawns on the same color, because you weaken the opposite color. At least have a pawn on h2, guard the g3 square. By playing this, you weaken the g3 square. By weakening the g3 square, you indirectly weaken even more the f4 square, because if you can play g3, then you can't defend f4 as well. You know, so now there's ideas like knight h5, for example. Let's see what, okay, he took, okay. There's ideas like knight h5, threatening queen h4 check, and then knight coming through g3. You know, like for example, if they make some random move, let's just play some random move. Let's play pawn a4, check. Here, check, game over. Or king e2, check, double attack, game over. Do you see? Weak dark squares. Versus if white had a pawn on h2 would not be so easy for black, because after knight h5, we just play pawn to g3, controlling everything. So this is so bad. It's crazy. I think was the most natural move, probably knight e2. Yeah, this is the most natural move. And then finally castling if black allows us. White probably still should be worse, of course, but at least it is playable. At least you can play now. h3 makes zero sense. Why waste time on corner pawn moves? You should develop. Okay, takes, pawn takes, taking this way. Why not bishop c3? Interesting. I think bishop c3 is more logical. I think it is more logical to have this bishop, right? Put some pressure. Yeah, bc just looks weird. I don't know. I think it's just a mistake. Bishop takes c4. I would take with a pawn. You can always take with a bishop after knight e4, but or maybe you do something else. I wouldn't rush taking with a bishop, but okay. Takes, pawn, check. Now white can never castle. Okay. Queen f3. I mean, why not knight f3? Developing the knight with tempo, attacking the queen, and developing the knight. Yeah, this would be even more logical, but okay. Queen f3. What? Oh my god, this is crazy. Okay, this is a huge mistake, obviously. I mean, maybe rook, I guess here would have been interesting, maybe. And then rook f6 with the same idea, but not losing the rook, you know. Or at the very least, like either like afraid we're gonna lose the rook, we could just go back. At the very least, and then develop a bishop, you know, bring the second rook, it should play knight e5, right? Activate the knight. White's king is pretty weak. There's also ideas like queen c4 attacking the king. There's also ideas like, I mean, the queen's attacking the knight, but potentially if a queen from f3 moves, maybe b6, bishop a6 check, potentially, right? Something like that. Yeah, and maybe not even move a rook right away because it's protected by the queen. Maybe just play like knight e5 immediately, attack the queen. They can't take us when queen takes h4. Black has clear advantage. White's king is very weak, especially this diagonal. So if black can play something like this, bring the second rook here, activate the knight, white's in big trouble, huge trouble. But yeah, rook f4, wow, this is crazy. Bishop f4, white's just completely winning. Takes a bishop. Okay, knight f3. Ooh, nice. Yeah. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.